welcome to my video. Today I'm going to discuss my story and someone else's story with my very special guest, my sister!
Hello YouTube, I'm Mika. I'm here to annoy my sister. My sister!
So we're both participating in NaNoWriMo this year, and I told you a lot about my story, but she's going to tell you a bit about her story, and then we're going to play a question game to find out how our main characters are functioning in different situations.
Yes, well, first I have to warn you, I haven't completely outlined my story yet, so it might be a bit messy when I talk about it, because there are some points where I'm still thinking about what the exact idea is going to be. But it's basically about a girl called Samira, who lives in a fantasy world where people think that magic is bad. Magic is being basically possessed by demons. But she finds out that she is magic, and then out of nowhere her sister's boyfriend kind of confesses that he's the prince, which makes her have easy access to court and stuff like that. So she becomes like in these two worlds, in the secret world where she has magic, and where suddenly her uncle invites her into a secret rebellion and stuff like that, you know, the family things. And the other hand, she's like part of court now and she has to be a lady, and she has to balance those things. And then she gets a secret mission to find out one of the sources of the magic, to restore it, to make sure that magic is stable again, because one of the dangers is it's unstable, and to make sure that everyone has the ability to do magic once that is restored, so that it will no longer be outlawed and people's life can be easier. That's basically the story. There's not a lot of detail in there yet. I'm hoping to make it into several stories, but I'll have to see where it goes. So that's my story. Yay!
I grabbed a few things with questions on them. I have the drinking game, Never Have I Ever. Woo! We're not going to drink. And we're going to check out some questions, some Never Have I Ever's to fill in for our main characters. So before we start with this game, tell us a bit about your main character. How old is she? What are her hobbies? Her name, of course, but you already told that.
Well, her name is Samina Silversouth. She's 17 years old, and yeah, her main day-to-day is working on the farm, working with the animals, with land. She is very feminine, so she really likes, she likes like books, and she likes to work on the land, but she always wants to keep a touch of, you know, feeling pretty. I don't know why it's important to her. I do know why it's, you know, in the closed door. But she always has like braids in her hair, where her sister just chopped her hair off because it's easier. She decided to keep her hair long, but instead spends time in the morning braiding it. Like, she has to use easy clothes, but she embroiders them herself with like a pretty thread to have that sense of feeling pretty. There is a reason for that. It's a whole backstory. I'm not gonna get into it, but it's all like behind the closed door. It's in the dark room. So that's basically what she's like, what she does in the day, and what she thinks is important. She doesn't think other people are like less important if they don't care about being pretty, but it's just something she needs for herself, something she can hold on to.
So I took a few popsicle sticks from the writer's box. It's a book full of story prompts, story ideas, and things that could happen in your story that can change the outcome. For when you're stuck with questions like the bill she forgot to pay, it's something that can happen in your story. But I'm going to make a question based on these questions. Words.
Prompts.
That. And my sister has the drinking game.
Everyone has something that fits them. Shall we start with the popsicle sticks?
Yes, let's do that. And I saw a great question that I was wondering about your world.
Okay.
How do they spread the news?
That is a great question that I haven't thought about yet. It's more like a primitive world, so there's no like radio system or something, there's no electricity. So I think it's more like a town crier. But the way that the underground system, so the revolution, spreads the word is they have the secret book club, as they call it, where they meet every Friday, where they discuss revolution shit. And if there are things in between, they can talk to each other, as in, have you read the book club, page 8, chapter 9, or something like that? And based on that, the other knows what it is, because there's like this whole code that everyone learns that I still have to think about. Okay, then it's my turn to ask you a question.
Yes.
And I think this is not going to be about your world, because your world is just this world.
Yes.
So I'm gonna base it on your character.
Mm-hmm.
Does she have any tattoos? So never have I ever had a tattoo.
No, she doesn't, because a tattoo is something that people will look at, and that's something that she doesn't like. So if she would have a tattoo, she would probably just cover it up with clothes, so no one would see it. Mm-hmm. But I think she's the kind of person that's very old school and no tattoos and the trash, more that kind of person.
I don't really like her.
She's
I don't really like her.
No, she's very narrow-minded.
Yes.
So I don't think she's a girl that would get a tattoo, and probably in the beginning of the book would also judge people with a tattoo. And I know she will get over that eventually, but the judging part, I don't know if she'll get over people with tattoos, but the judging part, she will get over that.
Do you think that's because she feels like if someone has a tattoo, it's like, oh, they definitely want to show their body?
Yes, and when the skinny people who have a tattoo, they're like, yeah, you can show it off, blah blah blah. And with fat people, she's like, you shouldn't do that, and you should be ashamed of yourself, and everything she feels for herself, she will put that image on another person.
She's a preachy bitch.
A bit.
Okay.
Next popsicle stick! You told me before that your main character's father died. What happened to her mother? Because she's living with her uncle.
Her mother died giving birth to her. Because it's like an old school world, so that stuff happens. That's also what happened to the queen, so the mother of her future brother-in-law. Also, you've prepared which questions you wanted to ask. I just grabbed something.
I know.
Oh yeah, this is an interesting one. What is the study of your character? So here it's never have I ever studied at a university, but what level of study is she at?
That's something I'm not sure of. I think she will have a degree of some sort, but I don't know what her job is. I'm still trying to figure that out. I know it's a desk job, and I know that she isn't happy with it, but that's mostly because she wants to change the world, but she's too tired, too lazy, and her job doesn't help her either. So when even if you're like a flight attendant, you make sure those people have the best day in their life or at the flight. You try to give them the best day possible. And she has the idea that her job isn't really helping anyone, and she doesn't like it, but she still stays because money.
Yeah, we all know that sucks.
So my camera just died mid-sentence, and we didn't notice, so we were asking a lot of other questions. But we're going to continue. On the video, she asked the last question. It was about a college degree. I don't know where the video completely stopped, so I'm going to search for another question. What would your main character do if she gets a lot of money somehow? She wins money or...
No, first of all, I don't think she can win money. Like that's not something that a lot of people just don't have a lot of money. So there's no excess of wealth like in companies or something. Everyone has a small company. Kinda, everyone has their own business. But she does kind of come into a lot of money because, well, her uncle has his own farm, which she is probably gonna inherit. First, she would have to share it with her sister, but her sister is, of course, marrying a prince, so she's kind of spoken for, she doesn't need it. And I don't think if she got that money that a lot would change, because she still needs to work the farm. If not for food right now, then it's to like pass on that prosperity to the next generation, to make sure everything is running. The farm is something her uncle worked very hard for, so it's not something she's just gonna give up and gonna, you know, whatevers. Because she has a lot of money, she wants to work as well. And I think that's a really good question, so I'm gonna ask it right back to you. What would your character do if she suddenly had a lot of money?
So before the story starts, before my character decides to go to the gym and get healthy, she would probably also spend it on her appearance. She would get a surgery to remove fat, get diet pills and that kind of stuff. But the other thing she would buy is food, unhealthy drinks, go out to dinner, that kind of stuff. So before the story starts, she doesn't want to be fat anymore, and she really wants to do something besides exercising and eating healthy.
Same.
Further on in the story, she would probably invest it in her new living situation when she leaves with her boyfriend, and spend it on healthy things like protein shakes, fitness equipment, workout gear, that kind of stuff. Character development.
I want to say, that's some character growth right there. Yes, find something I can steal again, because I only have one more lined up.
The thing on the stick is, I decided the only solution was to seduce him. My question is, does your main character have a love interest of some sort?
Yes, and kinda. Duncan, her best friend with who she goes on the quest, is someone like she's always looked up to, and she's always like preferred being around him. And everyone in their surrounding called that love. He always had like girlfriends and prettier girls. So she always felt like, no, that can't be it. And she also never felt like jealous of those girls. She never felt bad about it. And then suddenly he does show an interest. And she's like, okay, so this is now a thing. And she goes along with it. But it isn't really her love interest. It's more, she makes the choice to feel the same way so she doesn't lose him. Mm-hmm. But she doesn't feel that way. Her actual love interest, which will hopefully, it's gonna be hinted at in this story, but it's not gonna be, the thing, is the Princess Nasrin. She has something with Nasrin who follows them to, go on their quest. And in that land, it's fantasy land, it's not our land, so no one gives a shit whether you're with guys, girls, whatever. So it's not a thing, but it's just not, she didn't realize how much she cared for her until Duncan suddenly attacks Nasrin and threatens her life, and she realizes, no, this is not what I want. I don't really care about Duncan in that way, but I do care about Nasrin in that way. And then she has to deal with that. Also help her not die. Okay, it's my turn. Does your character drink or does she get drunk?
No, she doesn't. She will have an occasional glass of whiskey sometimes, or I think more like the sweet drinks like drop shot.
I was gonna say I'm starting to like this girl.
But she isn't the partying type. Like, she won't stay out, get drunk. She eventually will do that in the story. So when she meets her personal trainer and the girl who runs, I still don't know if it will be a girl or a guy who runs the bar, and they will take her out and show her that side of the world that she never really had. And then she will get drunk eventually, because her sober self wouldn't be the type of person that even would react to advances from her love interest. So she needs to be drunk in the beginning. And
I have to say I fucking love that in stories. Like when it's like no, and then suddenly they're drunk and then actually yeah.
I like the part afterwards where they are super awkward and pretend it didn't happen. But the love interest will probably just think, yay, it's all good and we're going and yeah, my kind of explanation. And she is like, oh no, help, sorry, I didn't mean to, and she thinks it was more of a pity act.
Yeah, and she's probably drunk, so she can't remember exactly what happened.
Yeah.
How drunk does she get? Does she get my level drunk or your level drunk?
I'm never drunk.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
No, she
on a scale from Irma to Mika, how drunk does she get? What is Irma? That is Mika.
She will remember most of the evening. That's my plan.
Okay, so like a 3.
But she will think it's really an act of pity and that he is just feeling sorry for her. On the stick it says, on the following Friday we packed our bags and planned our escape. What's a must-have for your character to bring along with her at all times?
If we're going to go look at her practicality, because she is like, she's grown up on a farm, she knows what she actually needs to survive, I would say dried meats and like long-holding vegetables, because she is that kind of person that thinks about that sort of things. But if it's to keep her happy, I think it's like little beautiful things. Like I said, she likes to embroider her own clothes. She likes to make pretty braids and maybe like put some embroidery thread into the braids, something like that. So I think if she had a choice and like all the basics were taken care of, she would probably bring something pretty to make her feel good, make her feel like, yeah, I have this pretty thing. You know, she doesn't need it, she knows she doesn't need it, she can live without it easily. But if she has a choice, she wouldn't.
How do they shower in your story? Do they have a shower? Do they wash themselves at a lake?
I'm going for the lake. I mean, she can probably, like, as soon as she gets her magic a bit under control, she can probably just, you know, whoosh a bit of water over her. Not create water, but from the lake. So, does your character secretly read texts of others? Like if she has the
If she had the opportunity, yes, she would.
Van geen idee. Suspicious?
She's very suspicious about what other people think of her, and in her own mind she's very self-centered. She will think that if she has coffee with a friend and that friend would send a text to someone, she would automatically think, well, it's about me, it's about what I said, it's about what I did, it's about my weight, and that friend has a whole life for herself that isn't something that she realizes. She does it when they're talking, so when a friend tells about work, she can be very caring and listening and wanting to help, but she always thinks people are talking behind her back and that kind of stuff.
And she kind of wants to be validated in that. Like, what does she hope for? Because like it's a different thing to be afraid of something or to be afraid that it's not happening. Because I can imagine that there's also a kind of insecurity with, but if it's not about me, then it's all in my head. So she kind of would hope in a way to see her name so she knows what other people are thinking about her?
No, because if people said something nice, she wouldn't believe it anyways.
Not even when it's like in a text behind her back.
No, if they said, well, she had a nice dress, she would probably think, well, they're joking behind my back. It's an inside joke, I don't get it, they're blaming me for something, I did something wrong, I looked weird. She's always criticizing herself to a level that's really unhealthy, so in the end of the story she gets mental health because she really has a problem. But that's the reason I wanted to tell the story really from her point of view, because if I tell it from an overview kind, and he said she does this and she does that, then you get the idea of, well, you get the idea that she's really making it up. But when you're reading the story through her mind, you get all these ideas she has, and they are put in this text. So that's the thing I want to make sure that's happening, that the reader really starts to believe that they're actually talking about her, and that actually everyone has a reason to pity her or hate her, but not really like her for who she is and not for how she looks. That's the reason why I'm writing in first person, so you feel really crap at the end of the first part of the book.
I was gonna ask that when you said it, like, is it not about feeling crap? But it's first person, it's not, because I know you usually, if I'm not mistaken, write in third limited, and I also like really prefer writing in third limited. I did last NaNoWriMo, the one before this? I'm not sure. I did write one NaNoWriMo in first person, and I found it very difficult to find a voice in third person, in first person. I think finding that is the hardest thing about first person, finding a voice. But I really like third person limited as a writing tool, and I know you usually write that. So is there anything like you're afraid of or you're thinking about differently writing first person?
I've written in first person before, but the thing I did was changing the point of view, so you would notice that everyone has a different story, and you would find out that people are misunderstanding each other and seeing what happened afterwards. And I like to do that, but now I really want to base it on one character. So my problem is going to be that I don't write about other people's feelings. Just saying that he looked angry and not he is angry. I have to do this for my job, so I hope it will work a little bit better than I think it would go. Because we have to observe children and we have to write, this kid looks sad, and even that isn't really accurate, but you have to write something down without your own colored glasses on. So you say he talks to for 15 seconds, and not he is talking with his friend, because that's something you don't know. And that's something I have to remember when I'm writing. I can't tell if the other persons are friends. I can say I think they're friends, but I have to make sure that I don't write it that other people are forced to feel something.
You're not gonna write first person omniscient, basically.
Yes. So that.
Yeah, I don't think first person omniscient is a thing, but that's basically what you're afraid of. Writing a first person that knows everything about other people.
Yes. And I've read a lot of stories online where people do that, and it really cringes me out. So that's something that I really don't want to do.
I think, if you don't mind like discussing writing styles for now, I think that's something that would happen to me earlier in third person, because when I write, I really like writing third person limited, but in third person limited you also don't know if they're friends. You know, you still just know the character's thoughts, only you're looking at them. instead of you're being them. And I've noticed that I do that a lot, that I'm like, and then suddenly I'm in his head instead of in her head, and it's very confusing, and it takes you out of the story. But what I do want to do in this story is I'm going to change from third person on Samira to third person on Nasrin. So I am going to change characters, but I don't think that's for the first story I'm gonna write, because I do want to make this a 3-part story. Sorry for a little roundabout like perspectives, but I think it's really interesting. I love perspectives. I have no perspective.
That's true.
Hey.
So we talked about our main character, we talked about our world. Yeah, mostly you talked about your world because my world is just our world. We talked about feelings of our characters, love interest, and we talked a bit about the perspective of writing. And I think with that all being covered, we would end our discussion here. We probably will be calling in the next few weeks together to find out more about our stories. We try to help each other as much as we can. You will see my sister in the next video. Maybe, I don't know when she's coming back.
Yeah, I'm gonna be here the Sunday of NaNoWriMo, so I don't know if my sister wants to collab that day. Yay!
We're going to write together. As I told you, I'm going to make a care package for her. She's already spoiling a lot of what she's putting in my care package.
I really like my gifts. I'm really proud of my care package.
So you will see that, and with that said, we thank you all so much for watching. We hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye guys.
Goodbye. There's a child sitting at the dinner table and he's reading something, and then he asks his dad, "What is gaze?" So his dad explains, "Sometimes, you know how your mother and I love each other, sometimes two people, like two women or two men, can love each other the same way." And then he asks, "Okay, and what is penetrating gaze?" And his mother was like, "What? Can you use it in a sentence?" She looked at him with penetrating gaze.